I thought it was really interesting how there was a time in my life when I was a bit younger and my priorities were different. I thought that money and power and status were the most important aspects of life. So to illustrate that, I would think I want to look like I'm rich by having a nice house and a nice car and stuff like that. Or I would think I want to have buying power so that I can do stuff I want to do that I think is cool, like go to an expensive symphony or go out to a fancy restaurant or something like that. Or maybe I would say that I want status. For example, a prestigious job, a rank, something that's going to be a badge I can wear that I can show off as proof that I've got it happening, basically. But now, I would say that the top three things that are important to me have changed. And instead, they are wealth and time and privacy. You see, being able to have autonomy and personal space and personal boundaries, being able to have my own convictions, my own opinions, that's very, very important to me. Because I've experienced what it's like to feel like I can't think freely or be myself freely. I know what it's like to feel like I'm watched or to feel like I'm controlled or manipulated. And so I've come to realize that having privacy, to be able to be self-made and self-defined, is extremely valuable. And wealth instead of money is all about realizing that money might be able to buy you something. Money can be used for paying the Starbucks bill or filling up your gas tank or going on a vacation. But wealth is power and constraint. It's not spending money just because you can. It's not the act of spending money. It's building a foundation that puts you in a position where you're able to afford things if you choose to. And quite often it also means not choosing to. It means not being super greedy and selfish all the time to where you always feel like you need to spend every penny you can get your hands on for your own personal gratification. Instead, you start thinking about building up a legacy. You start thinking about who you're going to have as a beneficiary and who you're going to give away your wealth to. You start thinking not only about how you're going to be able to afford things like your personal retirement and the sunset of your life, but you also start thinking about how you can have something extra that you don't ever consume so that you can plant trees that you'll never live to see grow into shade-bearing trees, to plant trees underneath whom you will never rest, because they're for someone else. They're for your posterity that will go on. So understanding that there is a difference between the love of money and a respect for wealth, because wealth is about stewardship and inheritance and constraint, and conserving your resources so that you have them when you need them, or you have them for others to inherit when you don't need them anymore. And that becomes much more important, because you realize a lot more. I'm not going to take any of this with me. I'm here for a limited period of time, and then it's going to be someone else's turn to have their moment in the sun. And so I want to make sure that I'm a good steward of what I have today, because ultimately it's not my life to live for myself alone. It's also my life to live for the sake of sharing when my life is no more. And finally, time. If Warren Buffett, as an old man, could exchange all of the wealth he has for the chance to be a young man again, he probably would give up all of the money he's ever acquired in his life for that opportunity to have a few decades more to live. There's a time when we're younger, especially when we're children, we don't even think about the fact that we have a limited amount of time to live. And then as we grow into adulthood, we become more acutely aware of the fact that we do have a limited amount of time in our life. And the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you can't enjoy your life, if you don't have time to do anything with that which you have earned, then what is the point of earning it at all? Just as wealth is all about sharing it with others when you die, there's also something to be said for the fact that it's not worth sharing if you don't enjoy it also while you live. And so, instead of things like chasing status, now I think about finding ways to get my time back. I think about how I could spend my time simplifying my life so that I have less things to maintain, less things to worry about. Or I could layer on more things and then ultimately have to make more of a time investment just to maintain my empire, if you will. Think about how much maintenance goes into having a big house and having multiple vehicles and having a lot of social connections and having a really demanding job. It's very easy to get yourself into a situation where you don't have any time at all. And even if you do carve out a little bit of time for yourself, it's not really genuine because you can't actually disconnect. And maybe you do have the status so that you can brag about something, or you can maybe get somebody to envy you a little bit. But the truth is you're paying with a commodity that's precious and limited so that you can buy something which is essentially an infinite resource. Because you can always get more money. Money is just a form of social credit. It's society saying that you've given something and therefore it owes you something in return. So you can get more money just by giving society an actual or a perceived value. People make money by selling NFTs that look like monkeys smoking dope for $300,000. It is stupid, but it still makes people money because all they have to do is find somebody else who's a sucker enough to spend the money and buy it. So the truth is, money is not really a rare commodity. Money is pretty easy to come by. But time is far rarer, more rare. It's much harder to come by time. So it's important to remember that. And to be cautious about how you establish your priorities. Don't chase status. Don't be addicted to consumerism and just spending money because you can and impressing people because you can. Don't be sucked into trying to prove yourself to other people. Don't even be sucked into the grind of trying to prove yourself to yourself, because that can be a very tiring experience when you're always trying to ask yourself if you are good enough, and you never really feel like you're good enough. So you just live in a state of continual disappointment, feeling like you have to return to the grind to try to be more, because what you did today isn't enough. Try to break that pattern. Get out of that feeling of thinking that life isn't good enough the way it is. And be forgiving and accepting of yourself. Then start thinking about building wealth, living a frugal and a simple life, making sure that all of your accounts balance out, financial accounts and also your just and regular account of your time. Think about the inheritance that you will leave for others. Find ways to live a life that you enjoy and also share it with others as you enjoy it. Because half of the joy of doing something is being able to share that experience with other people so that they can get some of that value too. Look for ways to get your time back, because simplifying your life isn't just about saving money. It's also about being able to be present, to really enjoy the things which remain. Sometimes we have to let go of the things that we think society wants us to be because they're traps, they're tricks. Life is good enough the way it is. You're good enough the way you are. So stop feeling like you need to chase something, fix something, be something more. And then learn to enjoy the sanctuary of peace that comes from a life that's private, where you have enough room and time insecurity, to get to know yourself. Maybe it's being able to disconnect 100% and play New World, exploring some fantasy world in a video game. Maybe it's taking a couple of hours, no cell phones, no devices, and just going for a walk. Maybe it's spending some time with somebody who you really cherish and value, and giving them undivided attention because you cherish that shared experience. Whatever it is, live a life that's based on your consent instead of other people's expectations. And if you do those things, you're probably going to have a better time. You actually might realize that despite the fact that you've often felt like your life is in shambles, it really isn't so broken as you thought it is. It's more just a matter of finding the freedom to see your own life in a positive light. Wherever your adventure takes you, always be positive, be happy, and believe that you are enough without any changes or modifications. Till next time, thank you for watching.